It's that place of desperation where you just cry out, "Where are you, God?" And you might be tired, you might be in pain, broken, alone, lost, and you want the struggle to be over right here, right now. Okay. Maybe you've been judged and the stones are being thrown or have been thrown. Maybe you've judged yourself and you're just drowning in guilt and shame. And you want it all over here and now. And I get it. And you cry out, "Where are you, God? Uh, do something." Look, there's one particular Christian saying that I really go, not sure about that one. If you feel far from God, guess who moved? If you feel far from God, guess who moved? And it implies like there's a fluid relationship, there's a movement, that anything can change. There could be a separation, possibly a divorce. Uh, Perhaps the relationship is reliant on doing the right things at the right time and in the right way. And maybe in your mind, you've got a list of compliance requirements to meet to feel you are close to God or that God would want to come close to you. Possibly others have told you to do this or that, and if you don't, or you don't do it their standards or their way, then it's no wonder you're feeling far from God. And you collapse and just into trying harder, and you never feel quite right. And depression deepens, anxiety comes, futility and despair kind of link arms, and you sit with that biblical character Job on a dust pile, and you pick your sores. Could someone else come and sit for a while and say nothing but pray for a little relief? That's what I'd like. I just want someone to come and just pray for a little relief. I think that's what church is meant to be all about. I believe God lives in our hearts full time and patiently waits until we still ourselves enough to focus and listen. I was listening the other morning to my daily lectio, and it was reading from Psalm 29. Psalm 29 says this: "Ascribe to the Lord, O heavenly beings, ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. Ascribe to the Lord the glory of his name. Worship the Lord in holy splendor. The voice of the Lord is over the waters. The God of glory thunders. The Lord over mighty waters. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is full of majesty. The voice of the Lord breaks cedars. The Lord breaks the cedars of Lebanon. He makes Lebanon skip like a calf and Syrian like a young ox, wild ox. The voice of the Lord flashes forth flames of fire. The voice of the Lord shakes the wilderness. The Lord shakes the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of the Lord causes the oaks to whirl and strips the forest bare, and in his temple all say glory. The Lord sits enthroned over the flood. The Lord sits enthroned as King forever. May the Lord give strength to his people. May the Lord bless his people with peace. And as I listened to that reading, I thought of how, in the context of this loud voice of the Lord, we can feel very frightened, small, intimidated by that force. Then I remembered the story of Elijah in his darkest burnout moment, and God coming to him out of the sound of sheer silence, the sound of sheer silence. And this passage when he was so burnt out, he was like, "Where are you, God? I want to go. I want to die." And God says to him, "Go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Now there's a great wind, so strong that it was splitting mountains and breaking rocks in pieces before the Lord. But the Lord wasn't in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake came. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. And after a fire, sound of sheer silence. And when Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Then there came a voice to him and said, "What are you doing here, Elijah? What are you doing here, Elijah?" All those loud voice of the Lord type experiences, splitting mountains, wind, earthquake, fire. But it was, in the end, it was out of the place of sheer silence that Elijah found God. God has not moved, but our awareness of God may well be drowned out by the wildness of what is going on around us, including in our brains. And we get bombarded by distractions, don't we? But the whisper is still there for us to hear. And I've got to ask, are you tuning yourself to be still enough to hear? I wrote this poem shortly after that, listening. Your voice can be loud, smashing mountains, exploding volcanoes, cracking icebergs, violent hurricanes. Your voice can be quiet, a whispered wind, a drop of rain, a babe's first cry, a small cat's purr. Where are you, voice? I will listen. Clean my ears, a whisper to hear. Hope you found this interesting and helpful to you. If you want to email me, there's the email address in the show notes below. And yeah, leave a comment, share this with some other people, and I pray that you may hear the whisper this week. Bye.